But for Tyler Hilton, for Bobby Hilton, for the entire Great Expectations team, it is all about business, and Pete Kaiser is a guy who has been trying to mess up their business. Hilton first off the starting line. That's what it's supposed to look like. Side by side of the stripe. How about you? 581 and 227 miles an hour for Tyler Hilton. That is the number one.
We feel pretty good. We won here the last 2 years in a row. We have some really good data from up here. The air is pretty comparable to last year, so I think we're going to set it up like we had it last year and go out here for Q1 a little soft and get it down the racetrack.
And we are going to get ready to run front engine top fuel dragsters. The A&W root beer machine, a car that took a very, very long and very, very wild ride at this race last year. A car that went off the end of the racetrack at a considerable rate of speed. And on the right side, Vince Generalo of Las Vegas, Nevada. They had Nanook Racing, front engine top fuel dragsters at 11. Robert Sterling built chassis. Rick Huff, of course, serving as the crew chief, and the Huff family has long been associated for way more than 50 years with the Nanook name. Whether it was the Nanook fuel halter, the funny car, and of course the top fuel dragster. And Sean Van Horn of Paso Robles, California, the Titan Speed A&W root beer machine, a Donovan 417 Hemi, making the power for Sean Van Horn. Of course, Van Horn with that long shot off the end of the racetrack last year. It's great to see him back. The family that loves nitromethane, and well, they love some root beer as well, as they do a good business in the A&W restaurant industry. Rick Huff leaning over that engine, taking a final adjustment. Both teams thumbs up. Round one qualifying in top fuel gear at the NightFire Nationals, as they have done it for 54 years. .606.9 at 235 miles an hour. Sean Van Horn's car was loosey-goosey all the way down the racetrack, was slip-sliding around out there. He got his foot out of it, goes through at a 905 at 87. Johnny Davis, the crew chief on this car, has worked in the sport of drag racing for, I'm saying, at least 50 years. He worked with Jim Head for decades. Johnny Davis retired from life on the road as a full-time nitro wrench, but you never actually quit this stuff, and he's found a great home here working on Mike Hilton's car. And Tyler Hefner out of Visalia, California, right-hand side of the racetrack in the Rick McGee Overtime Special. The reason you get that really nice cackle out of these cars, it's much more staccato, it's much more crisp than what you hear out of, say, a top fuel dragster like Antron Brown drives, goes back to the size of the fuel pump. The massive volume of fuel that's going through the engines in a NHRA Mission Food Series car takes some of this sound away. This is a nice, crisp cackle. These cars run more compression. They run less fuel. They run a smaller blower. So rather than drowning the cylinder out, you're getting a lot more complete combustion at this point, even at idle. So that's why they really pop and they really cack and they really make those noises that everybody loves so much. They are just violent, scary things. Of course, the drivers are slightly more elevated in a modern slingshot top fueler than they ever were in the classic cars that they sat way down behind, but you are still the first man on the scene when anything goes wrong with that engine. Mike Hilton of Cincinnati, Ohio. Tyler Hester of Visalia, California. Both trying to outrun a 606 to go to the number one spot. Nice run going on there. A bunch of piss at just went to the great horsepower gods in the sky, but Mike Hilton goes 6:02.1 at 225 miles per hour. So Tyler Hilton and Pete Kaiser, the two nastiest, gnarliest, meanest, quickest, baddest, and fastest slingshot front-engine dragsters on the planet, are fired up for your viewing pleasure. And here comes Pete. And here comes the champion, Tyler Hilton. There is not much better in the world than front-engine slingshot dragsters on nitromethane fuel as the setting sun paints this beautiful light over top of you. You're going to see great header flames out of these two cars. And I'm going to say I'd eat my hat, I'll chew on it. I'm not going to claim I'm going to eat the whole thing, but I'll chew on my hat if one of these things doesn't go down deep into the 570s, or perhaps even faster than that. The gold standard of this style of drag racing, side by side on the starting line. What I love most about that Great Expectations 3 car is how minimalist it is. Yes, there is a cowl around the cockpit where Tyler Hilton is sitting, but that's it. There is not a part or piece on that car that is not about function. There's no covering over the fuel tank. There's a little nose cone piece on there to move a little bit of air out of the way. This slight front wing. Pete Kaiser's car is much the same way, a minimalist approach, not a full-bodied car. Has some covering over the fuel tank, has the candy apple paint. But for Tyler Hilton, for Bobby Hilton, for the entire Great Expectations team, it is all about business, and Pete Kaiser is a guy who has been trying to mess up their business. Hilton first off the starting line. That's what it's supposed to look like. Side by side of the stripe. How about you? 581 at 227 miles an hour for Tyler Hilton. That is the #1 qualifying shot. Kaiser goes 586 at 250 miles an hour on the left-hand side of the racetrack. How about you? 250 down the drag strip for Pete Kaiser. Hilton's car nosed over. That car was heading into the 570s all day long. It was 206 at the 8th mile. It went through at 227. As an indication, Kaiser's car was 197 at the 8th mile, and it went through at 250. If Hilton's car had been able to stay lit and happy to the finish line traps, it likely would have been going at least 200 and high 250s, low 260s, and probably down somewhere in the mid 570s.
The car felt pretty good last night. We had it set up a little soft. We just wanted to get a good baseline run in. We got some pretty good notes, like I said before, for up here, so we're going to try to emulate that and step up today and try and get it into the 70s.
Car felt like crap yesterday. It left okay, and then it just started eating through the clutch, and like all the discs chunked real bad, and it finally pulled a little bit at the end when the clutch finally came 1-to-1. But very disappointing run. I was trying to run the 75 last night, and hopefully fix our clutch disc problem here and be better today.
Tires for Van Horn, tight speed, engineering build, really high quality billet parts like oil pumps and other really hardcore nitro kind of themed stuff. Small volume, high precision parts they make. Idle adjustment being made here. These cars don't have mechanical or don't have any sort of assistance with the clutch. There's no clutch management. It is all mechanical. That idle speed is going to really determine a lot of things once John Van Horn hits the throttle. Very conservative approach from Van Horn. They walked it off the starting line, and Van Horn, his car was pushing itself to the middle of the racetrack. He shut it off. He is going to coast through a 795.9 at 111 miles an hour. Car was 114 to 60 feet. You can see how it just kind of drove itself off the starting line. They were very conservative in the very well-known, even regional legends. Pete Tropiano is a guy who's from the New England area where I'm from, was very well known for building a lot of good cars up in that part of the world. These cars are just magnificent to look at, and the modern versions are a little bit different than the classics. The engine placement's a little different, the driver position a little elevated, but having been able to sit in one today for the first time with it running, warming the car up thanks to Pete Kaiser's team, it was both a terrifying and awe-inspiring experience, and I could not imagine what these guys are doing in these things at 250 miles an hour. So Mike Hilton on the right side of the drag strip from Cincinnati, Ohio. The Murph McKinney-built slingshot dragster. Bobby Hilton, you can see looking on. Johnny Davis makes the adjustments, peering into the cockpit where Mike Hilton has lowered his face shield. Across the racetrack, Vince Generalo sitting in the Nanook top fuel dragster. Rick Huff, who is the owner and tuner of the car, is making his last touches to the engine. These cars run a smaller supercharger than the cars you see in the NH3 Mission Food Series. They run a smaller fuel pump. It gives them that very distinctive and very crisp idle. And they make about 3,500 horsepower. Parachutes out for How about a 595 at 246 miles per hour? He pedaled the car out there. It was moving around a little early, trying to start checking the rear tires, but Mike Hilton pedaled it, kept it off the center of the racetrack, got back into it, and manages a 595 at 246. The car went from 0 to 197 miles an hour in 3.98 seconds. Here we go, Tyler Hilton and Pete Kaiser, the 1 and 2 qualifiers. Kaiser told me last night the car was set up to run somewhere down in the mid to low 570s. He actually had a clutch disc fail inside the clutch can, which is bad enough when it sounds mechanically, but remember the clutch can is between his feet basically in this thing. So there was a clutch disc that failed and was rolling around in there. Caused the engine to basically lose the load on it and almost freewheel. It's why it made a lot of speed, but it really didn't have a lot of elapsed time. And here comes Tyler Hilton, the class of the top fuel field. The NHRA Heritage Series, about a foot tall number 1 on both sides of the cockpit of Hilton's Slingshot. This is the former Tony Bartone top fuel car. There are weight breaks involved with all those different things. But a 426 style Hemi on both sides. Of course, when we talk about a Donovan engine, that was based on the earlier 392. And there was some concern for years about allowing a 426 Hemi style engine in these cars, but the reality is there's a lot of parts that can trickle down from the Mission Foods cars into these machines that run this 426 style engine, and it's been good for the class. Racetrack temperature is somewhere north of 120 degrees right now. And these two drivers, Pete Kaiser and Tyler Hilton, are about to have their hands full. Louis T, number 1, is still on the table here. Kaiser could snatch it, or Tyler Hilton could drive it even deeper into the ground. Beautiful runs on both sides. Hilton goes down to a 576 at 248 1/4 miles an hour. For Tyler Hilton and the boys, that was the run they were looking for. Pete Kaiser picked up a little, 584.7 at 249.39 miles an hour on that particular run. So the gap stands at about 0.08 of a second. There will be one more qualifying session tonight.
It's still not responded to my changes for some reason. So I put new ignition on the car and try and hop it up a little bit. It's just not responding this weekend to the changes. This car usually sees 1 or 2 degrees and it's not seeing anything for some reason. And it can just hit the gas and just doesn't want to go anywhere. I'm not sure what I'm chasing, but still trying to figure it out.
Because the racetrack has enough heat in it. Meanwhile, Tyler Hester, his second attempt of the weekend. The second qualifying session didn't go their way. They couldn't run the car. The Titan Speed Engineering, A&W, Fort John Auto Center sponsored Van Horn Family Top Fuel Dragster. The machine's cackling away. A Donovan 417 Hemi for Van Horn. A Donovan 417 for Tyler Hester. Teams both give each other the thumbs up, simultaneously pat their ejector hats, wish their driver and their connecting rods well. Here we go. Something going on for Hester. Van Horn, a nice clean run. Header Flames past the 8th mile at 1,000 feet. He clicks it early. Van Horn goes 6:47 at 183 miles an hour. The way it sounded, the motor was up kind of on a high C note the whole way down. It didn't sound like the clutch had come in to really load the car down that to the idle, likely waiting for a sign from Hilton to indicate that he got it in the window they wanted. Bobby Hilton gives the heads up, thumbs up. Two just pounding top fuel dragsters here. Vince Generalo gets ready to roll in as Rick Huff finishes his work on the engine. Looking real good here for Mike Hilton. Header flames up for Hilton. He goes 585 at 249 miles per hour. And you saw Generalo's car skating around down there at the top end. He shut it off, going at 697 at 148 miles per hour. But for Mike Hilton, the best run of the weekend by a truckload, 585.6 at 249.39. Very nicely done, Scott. Legendary Top Fuel families. Jim and Allison Lee's descended from them. Continues their legacy with a great expectations name on their race car. Tyler Hilton is on a big run down there. He goes 565 at 256 miles per hour. A 575 at 249 miles an hour for Pete Kaiser. 565 on the left side of the racetrack for Hilton. They both got the cars out of the first 60 feet in just about 1 second. 378 to the 8th mile for Tyler Hilton at nearly 210 miles an hour. 478.7 at 1,000 feet, and then a 565.2 at 256.84. Pete Kaiser was there with him early, but then he started to get outpaced from 330 feet on. The good news for Kaiser is the best run they have made by 1/10 of a second, so they have taken a quantum leap forward over the course of their now 3 qualifying sessions, and they have a good race car to compete on Sunday with.
Oh yeah, it was a good run last night, 65. Feel good today. We're going to back it off a little here for first round just to get down the racetrack, and then we're going to run the track for the rest of the deal. Try to get it in the winner's circle.
Car felt pretty good. It was soft, but it was moving. It was starting to pull, and you know, the car's a lot more comfortable than the white car. It drives nice. I really love the car. I just don't. It's acting different. I can't figure out what's going on.
Given race with Pete Kaiser, Tyler Hester. This is 2 of the front running teams in the world of top fuel racing, although Rick McGee has had his challenges this weekend. They've fought it. Obviously just the best of only 6.28. This is not normal for Rick McGee and his son-in-law. Across the racetrack, Tyler Hester. It has been a challenging weekend for that team. They are trying to break what has been a string of tough luck moments this weekend and beat Pete Kaiser. And they got a chance to do it. Kaiser smoked the tires early, and at the top end of the racetrack, Hester in a fog of smoke goes across the finish line, running 569 to beat a pedaling Pete Kaiser's 598. Kaiser's car drove out and smoked the tires early. He did a masterful job pedaling it, but he could not catch Tyler Hester. The car that was having those electrical gremlins has roared to life with a 569 at 255. Vince Generalo and Mike Hilton. Hilton flips the throttle on the burnout as Generalo gets the car fired. Rick Huff making that last adjustment on the engine. And Huff motions Generalo ahead. Then a Nook, top fuel dragster. Knowing that they were a moment behind in their routine, a quick burnout for Vince Generalo. A nice warm racetrack negates the need for some long holy smoker out here, just enough to scuff the tire and warm them up. It was the final round at Top Fuel here a couple of years ago as Jim Murphy taking on Dan Horan. No love lost between those two groups. We talk about the sequence of events and a burnout and a fire up. Murphy and team kind of head faked the Horan car into starting. And they took their blessed time and ended up winning the Top Fuel honors here at the NightFire. Johnny Davis looks back at his driver Mike Hilton. Bobby Hilton standing behind the race car looking at his alignment on the racetrack. What appears to be some raw fuel out of the pipes. They got a lot of fuel going through that thing at idle over on the Generalo side of the racetrack. Both drivers pull their visors down. Mike Hilton, 2:01 in the 8th mile, 248 out the back door, 587, 248 miles per hour. Sean Van Horn and Tyler Hilton, a monster matchup in the first round. The Kaiser family have become very dedicated Sean Van Horn fans right now. After their first round exit, they need somebody to take care of business here against Tyler Hilton, and the Van Horn family may be those people. There was a couple of them upsets in Funny Car last night, one very specifically. This is like David and Goliath, is it not? It is, it is. I mean, the Van Horn guys, of course, they've run fuel alters. They've been around nitro stuff for a very long time. They know the business. They are still really acclimating to this Top Fuel car. Beautiful piece that it is. Not a hair out of place on that thing. I mentioned it Friday night, but Sean's helmet painted like Eddie Van Halen's guitar from the famed Eruption solo and all of his other magical work with the Van Halen team, or the Van Halen band. If your last name's Van Horn, you're not that far off from Van Halen anyway, so you might as well go with the helmet. Bobby Hilton. Always love the way he looks at the motor before the car goes down the racetrack. He looks at that engine like it's trying to tell him something. Starting line advantage for Tyler Hilton, and he is going to not give an inch of it back. Hilton goes 574 at 252 miles per hour. Left the starting line first. Van Horn's car did not complete the trip, 1075 at 65 miles per hour. But for Tyler Van Horn, or rather for Tyler Hilton, I should say, 384.5 at the 8th mile at 208 miles per hour. It was through the 60-foot clocks at 103.5 and across the quarter-mile stripe at 574 at 252.
We've been trying to do that all weekend, but the thing just hasn't thrown us a bone. We finally didn't have any weird parts failures or anything like that, so hey, listen, we'll go again.
Tyler Hester and Mike Hilton, both free stage. Could Hester pull off the upset here at the end of the final round? Hilton's car's got a little smoke coming out of it. Tyler Hester's car's got a lot of smoke coming out of it, and Hilton caught him at the stripe. Hester was gone, Hester was running away, and then the thing went sideways, and Mike Hilton goes 593 at 232 to catch an ailing Tyler Hester Top Fuel dragster. The speed of Hester's car falls to 191, but make no mistake about it, they were leading that race by a margin of 0.04 of a second at the 8th, of 0.04 of a second at 1,000 feet. And if that car had run cleanly for another 150 feet, they'd be going to the final. But Mike Hilton at 593, 232 gets the win. The The original Great Expectations car back in the 60s was, of course, defined by the innovations of Jim and Allison Lee, their willingness to advance with the sport. One of the East Coast best top fuel cars that traveled the nation, ran many, many huge events. Adopted the 3-disc clutch, one of the first dragsters to have a 3-disc clutch back in the late 1960s. Man, this thing is ripping. He goes through a 577, only 237 miles an hour for Tyler Hilton, and it was clean. Hilton, 577.3, 237 through the lights. Masterfully done job. We'll go into the final round with a very clean sounding, looking, and running race car.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good weekend. We've ran what we wanted to in succession and gotten quicker each run. Yeah, all Hilton final will be pretty cool, running my uncle. We've done it before a couple years ago, so I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Here it comes, Tyler Hilton and Mike Hilton. The rumble begins. The final round of Top Fuel here at the 54th running of the NightFire National. The men from Southern Ohio, Cincinnati is both. Johnny Davis on one car, and of course Bobby Hilton tuning on the other. Now they're going to put on a little show for us. I thought they're going to synchronize their burnouts as Hilton of the Tyler variety heats his tires first. And Mike completes the job. It's always good to get a couple of brothers next to each other on a racetrack. And big brother, little brother stuff's going to come out. You know that Mike Hilton would love to land one upside his brother's head here. The amount of success, the championships, the run that he has been on. I'm interested to see how closely the cars run a laps time-wise. I'm not sure how closely Davis and Hilton are aligning on their tune-ups, and if the final round is a you stay in your corner and I stay in mine type of situation. But what's happened this afternoon with the breeze and the cloud cover has definitely taken this track downward in temperature. At one point it was 133 degrees. I'd be willing to bet the farm is no more than 110 or 15 right now. So that's going to really tighten the thing up as Mike Hilton pulls the car into forward gear. Bobby's fired up over on that side of the racetrack, peeking at the engine. He slaps the front tire. And he points his son toward the finish line. Here we go. Mike's second to go in. And Tyler's car is starting to walk away at the 8th mile. 5:79 and 2:46. Beats a 5:99 and 2:39. Tyler Hilton gets the job done yet again here at these NightFire Nationals. Another big victory for this team that is certainly on track for another Heritage Series championship. It is Tyler Hilton's third win in a row, 2023, 2024, and he can etch his name in stone in 2025. Just like the airport, they're winding up the turbines. And then the wonderful burn clouds, flashes of fire and smoke will follow, along with some 280-mile-an-hour speeds, especially out of the Iceman Dragster. Went 281 and change last night.
How about 4? Okay. Championships is what we
well,
want,
I mean,
baby.